Here we are again with another great interview with a ministry partner. My name is Jimmy Sarles. I'm one of the admins for the Christian Metal Group. And Jay?
Hey, I'm one of the moderators for Christian Metal, and I play music.
Do. And Brent, what do you do?
I love music. I married, got two kids. One of the kids just had a little baby, so now I'm a grandpa.
Nice.
And I love music.
Awesome. So we're going to start. We got just a few questions here I want to ask you. So when did you become a believer?
I would say it's kind of a long story. I would say just because of how I grew up. But when I was certain that I became a believer was in 1992. I grew up in a church that some would now look on kind of as a cult in retrospect. Mm-hmm. And, God was talked about, but it was very legalistic, Old Testament centered.
Mm-hmm.
Not relationship with Jesus was not there. So I didn't understand everything I needed to understand. How God would have dealt with me during that time, I don't know. But later on, in my later 20s, I began to read the Bible for myself, because the church I went to said you can't read the Bible for yourself. Somebody has to explain it to you. And so I'd never read the Bible. And so at the ripe old age of 27, I read the Bible straight through and had some long talks with God and found a church and got baptized. And so my official answer would be at least since 1992.
I think a lot of people can actually relate to that more than you maybe realize.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, cool. Let's talk about some of your favorite bands. So growing up, who are some of your favorite bands? What got you into like rock music, metal music also?
Well, I grew up in the 70s, so for me it was Kiss. When I was 13, 1976, Kiss was my thing. And then Aerosmith and all the bands that from the same time frame, but massively into Kiss. And then as I got older, the Who and different bands, David Bowie, I was a big fan of. And then after joining the church, being baptized, all that, I discovered Christian music, Christian metal. Didn't even know that was a thing, except for Stryper, who I'd seen on Headbangers Ball, but that's all I knew about Christian music. And so began to go to a Christian bookstore. I discovered Barren Cross, Seventh Angel, and the rest was history.
Awesome. That is great, man. So Kiss is what done it. I've heard that one quite a bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was 13 and I was spellbound.
Yeah. So what are a few of your favorite concerts that you've been to over the years? Just, two or three of them.
Well, back in those days, I saw Kiss, which was awesome. Saw, Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Megadeth, all through the 80s, lots of bands like that. Christian bands. First Christian concert I saw was Petra on the Beyond Belief tour.
Nice.
After everything changed and I began, discover this new music. And so back then I saw White Cross, Mortification.
Wow.
Guardian, lots of, early 90s was when I began Christian concerts.
Mm-hmm.
So got to see a lot of good bands, got to meet a lot of people, met Steve Rowe.
Oh, wow.
So, just at the shows, just, saying hi to them.
Mm-hmm.
So those kind of stand out. Saw Stryper several times, Petra a few times, Switchfoot. My kids love Switchfoot, so I went to see them a lot.
Sure.
Me and my little boy were Switchfoot buddies. We'd go see them every time they were anytime they were nearby, we'd go see them.
That's fun.
Absolutely. So, I think one thing that happens when it comes to Christian rock and metal, I think about like the 80s. And you ever heard of, like, I don't know, maybe I won't call the name of this organization, but there were like, especially like the 80s, the 90s, and even today, there's like different organizations that try to come out and say Christian rock is bad, and all the other kind of stuff. There's there's been quite a bit of press on that, and of course there's been good press too. So let's talk about like your experience. Have you had to deal with any backlash? First of all, just in the Christian industry also, and then also in the Christian metal industry. And if so, how have you dealt with it?
Yeah, not really. I came along after that because 80s I was not there yet. Mm-hmm. So I missed that. I remember going to secular concerts and seeing Christians out front. I saw Blue Oyster Cult and got handed a little pamphlet, "Don't fear the Reaper?" ? But so I saw that side of the backlash. But since becoming a Christian music, no, I've never. Everybody at my church is aware that they think it's cool what I do. I've never gotten any kind of any pushback at all like that.
Awesome.
I know what you're talking about, and the whole, Striper, what they went through. I'm familiar with all that, but I never experienced it myself.
Yeah, cool.
Okay. Awesome. Well, so there seems to be a market for physical products, especially in the underground, including Christian music and metal. And so, what do you think are the reasons for that?
Say it again. The reasons for what? For the
For
physical product?
for there being why is there still a market for physical products?
Well, I can speak for myself. Physical product to me is everything. I don't download, I don't stream. If it's not out on CD or vinyl, I don't have it. So when a band puts out an album, I look for the CD. Or vinyl. I've gotten back into vinyl. My kids got me a turntable a few years ago for Christmas, so I'm kind of back into vinyl. But for a while, it was all CDs, and I love it because it's something you can hold, you can look at it, you can read it. There's some connection to me that you get when you own the music and don't just have a song you like. I'm not a song guy. I'm an album guy. People ask me what's my favorite song. I cannot answer that. That's to me. That's like what's your favorite scene from a movie. It's like I don't know. It's a movie. You got to see the whole
that's
movie.
good.
To
I
me, an
love that
album is.
answer.
Yeah,
Huh?
I love that answer.
yeah, I
Oh,
love
thank
the
you very
answer
much. Yeah. I've never been able to answer what's my favorite song. It's just like I don't know, but I can tell you my favorite album by a band, but I do not have favorite songs. And when I listen to an album, my wife will testify. It's straight through.
Wow, that's amazing. I think that that's a good point because um, things do seem to be a little bit more song driven now that we
Mm-hmm.
have the streaming era is here. But I am very grateful for sure for people like you who are keeping those stores that sell physical product alive for sure.
Yeah. Well, thank you. And I'm not against streaming, for other people. That's great. My kids do it. They don't own music, they stream music. But it's just I guess the way I grew up, and it's just ingrained in me that if you're not sitting there looking at it and reading the credits and the line and all that,
Yeah, yeah,
it's not real to me.
yeah, exactly. And I feel that. And I think so that actually answers like the next question I was going to answer. I'm just skipping on to the next one. So
Sure.
this is something that we deal with like on a regular basis in our group. So many people have ideas of what hard rock and metal actually are. Where do you draw the line when it comes to promoting and selling a band stylistically?
Well, okay, here's I'm weird on that too. To me, and the honest, it's all hard rock. I don't differentiate in my mind metal versus rock, hard rock. I've heard people do it, and I kind of get it. But and Judas Priest is always used as an example of metal, and Black Sabbath. Yeah. To me, it's just hard rock. And yeah, there's a different sound to it. It's different styles. When I put out a catalog every so often and list things, I pull the descriptions out of reviews I read online. That's not me talking. That's not saying, oh, this is so and so metal, and this, I read reviews and just kind of quote them. So that's where my descriptions of rock versus hard rock versus metal versus pop, that to me, that comes from other people's critiques of the music. Okay. But I have always, just since I was 13 and discovered Kiss, it's all been hard rock to me. When I started liking Judas Priest, not long after, it was still just hard rock to me.
Nice.
And I get that there's definite distinctions that people have, that they'll draw their lines, and I get that. It's just that's not how my brain hears it. So
hey, I feel you. There's nothing wrong with that either.
Yeah.
All right. So bands like Under Oath, As I Lay Dying, Silent Planet, and so many others have become controversial over the last few years. Do you sell all of their albums or just specific ones? And on the flip side, there are bands like Megadeth and Wasp with members that are believers. Do you sell more? Do you sell their current albums? So
no,
the question is,
never.
where do you draw the line
Yeah.
on the bands that you sell on your website?
Sure. Where I draw the line to me is as far as I know, if it was a Christian album, and that's a hard thing to define sometimes, but as far as I can tell, if it was a Christian album, that's what I sell. If the band later denounced Christianity, for instance, I wouldn't carry stuff that they had since, but I wouldn't stop carrying the stuff they had before. Gotcha. I've never drawn that line. There's I don't want to name names, but there's people who have gone directions that the Christian community has kind of turned their back on them. I still, if you look through my web page, they're still there because at the time that's what they believed. I think those songs don't get tarnished because the person later changes their mind. Not in my mind, but no, I've never sold a Meg. I know what you're saying about Dave Mustaine and I start to contradict myself. I do carry some of Alice Cooper's Christian stuff. But I've never. Who else did you mention besides Megadeth? You mentioned somebody else.
Wasp.
Yeah, Wasp. I've never carried Wasp. Nothing against them. It's not in particular. I've got a couple of their Christian albums in my own collection. I've just never gotten, I guess, to the point of going out and finding them and including them. But if somebody asked me to find one for them, I absolutely would.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
basically try to stick to what most people would consider Christian because I don't want to offend people or call. I go to other people's websites and I see all kinds of stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
You
Yeah,
know, I
and that's
bands that have no connection to Christianity, but there they are, and I don't worry about it. But I know some people that bothers them, and
yeah,
I've had people.
that's very similar to what we try to do in the
Yeah,
Christian metal group. It is
Yep.
difficult, but
yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to offend people, and I don't want to carry something that would cause somebody a problem. I've had people ask me on the phone, "How can you carry that? That's not Christian." And a couple times I've looked and read I didn't know, and I read the lyrics. I'm like, "You're right." And like the band had evolved over time, and I didn't realize that this album is after they had crossed, whatever line, and so I don't carry that album anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow.
I've had people point stuff out to me before that I didn't. I think once a Christian band, always a Christian band. Sometimes, and if you don't hear that they've maybe changed their mind or read the lyrics to the new thing, I didn't know. So I've actually, discontinued a couple of things for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about when you started your website. So when did you start it, and what
I
motivated you to start it?
Well, okay, and I'll try to tell you the short version, but it ties back to Kiss again, like half of my life does. When I don't know, when I was in my 20s, I used to sell Kiss stuff like I do Christian music stuff now. And this was during that wandering period before I, got baptized, and I was in my 20s and not sure, what I believed, I guess. But as far as I knew, I believed in God. I just didn't, hadn't made the connections yet. And but I was heavy into Kiss still, and they were becoming collector's items at the time. And so I would deal in Kiss and put out catalogs similar to what I do now, and got to the point where I was kind of known around the country. Tommy Thayer, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but
oh yeah,
Tommy Thayer, they were putting on Kiss conventions in the summer of '95,
Mm-hmm.
right before they reunited. Tommy Thayer called me at home. He'd gotten my name. This was when he was just their helper guy. Called me at home and wanted me to help them coordinate the Missouri Kiss convention, which was in St. Louis. And so
wow,
I did. So, but
that's very cool.
that was very cool. But
Yeah,
sometime around that same time, because this was after I'd gotten baptized, I could feel God, hey, leading me like, that's not where you're spending too much time on that. And I just felt very strongly like I was in an area that I didn't need to be so heavily focused. It was just a personal feeling I had. But it's like, well, this is what I do, and I've got all this stuff. This is what I know. And God put this idea in my head. Well, Christian music, people are looking for that too. I mean, seriously, it's an idea that came from God. And so in the summer of 1995, I put together my first little Christian catalog and just said, okay, I'm done with the Kiss thing. I'm switching over. I'm going to do the Christian music thing. I feel God leading me to that. And I
Mm-hmm.
put out this little sad little some things I'd found at a record store. I had maybe like 20 things on my list, and put a little list out. Made some. I'm trying to think, through Heaven's Metal magazine. I put an ad in I guess it was HM at the time, but I put an ad in HM magazine and got some people writing to me, and so it just took off from there.
And that's awesome. And I think we, if you haven't caught on yet, we failed to mention this is for Brent's ChristianRockMetal.com website, where he
Right.
sells everything Christian related. So based on what you were just saying, I got to know, do you in fact have a shrine to Kiss in your house somewhere?
No, but I did. But I certainly did.
Okay.
30 years ago, I had a room that was just all it was, but I don't have that anymore. I haven't had that since, I don't know, early 90s. But yes,
Okay.
there was a time. There was a time. And the dolls were in there, and the trash can, and the lunchbox, and it was all in there. The Halloween costumes, it was all there. But yeah, I very specifically felt God replacing one thing in my life with something else. And it was very cool when I look back on it. But
Yeah.
it was a very, very change in my attitude. Like, that's not where I should be. I shouldn't be doing that anymore. I need to be doing this. And it just took off. That was the summer of '95. So I just hit 27 years doing this.
Nice.
And I've been putting out a little, I've got a web page, but I still put out these old fashioned catalogs. Jimmy's on my list, but people just like that. I think they still like to read the descriptions and whatever. Mm-hmm. And so I do that every so often. And about once a year, I'll thank the people who I've dealt with for a long time. And those are people that I've dealt with 15, 20, 25 years and some from the beginning. A couple of guys have been on my mailing list almost since day one, and they're still with me.
Wow. One of my friends that I met online, I mean, I don't know, 10 years ago, I saw him on your list, Jim Willis from California.
Yes, Jim Willis.
That was so cool to see his name on there.
He's one of my old 15, 16 years I've been dealing with Jim. He's one of the old timers.
Awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Amazing. I think you have the next question, actually, Jimmy.
No, I believe that was you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the site updates because
Okay.
you updated your site recently.
Yes.
So, what inspired the updates, and
You actually like changing the look of it?
Okay.
When you say updates, is that what you mean?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
about a month, my son did that for me. I always had, since I've had a web page, which is probably 15 years now, 20 years.
Mhm.
It was just basically a Word document, on the internet is all it was. And my kids would make fun of me, and other people would make fun of me. It's like, but that's all I know how to do. And so my son, about a month or two ago, at least it's still a little primitive, but bless his heart, he just got in there and did it. And one night just messed around with it, and now it's on a kind of a notepad thing. But now I've got links. If you want to just hit CDs, you can jump down to CDs, and so it's more sophisticated than
So
it used to be. But
is
it's
that the
still,
first time that you've updated it?
yes,
Wow.
yes, yeah, it honestly is. And I don't know, it served the purpose. I would take the ridicule and say, yeah, but I don't know how to design a website. I don't know how to do that. And people could find it, people could read it. So yeah, it's very primitive, but it's better than it used to be. And
Yes.
that's all thanks to my son.
Yes, it is definitely updated.
Yes.
Now
So
you can click on cassette tapes and go to cassette tapes before you had to scroll. So that's
now what?
progress.
Now what's a cassette tape? I'm joking. All right.
Yeah.
So
Oh man,
I've
dude.
got I've got 1,000 of them back here. So
Whoa, you
Yes.
still have yours? That's crazy.
Yes.
I
Oh
got
yeah.
rid of most of
Yeah.
mine.
The last year or so, that's what people are looking for. It's coming. It's coming
actually,
back.
probably half of my collection come from Brent.
That's
As
very
far
possible.
cassettes, yeah.
That's
That's
crazy.
very possible.
So Brent, you have hard to find albums and new albums. You have everything from guitar picks to concert tickets. So where do you find your product to sell on your website?
A lot of it, a lot of that stuff I just find in trading with people. There's other people I trade with.
Mhm.
All it used to come. I'm trying to think how I've come across them now. Um, I would see him in HM. I would see him in Goldmine magazine. I used to go through. I haven't done that lately, but just different places like that. I would come across people. A lot of times people see my webpage, contact me. Hey, I've got this and this to trade. Do you want to trade? So I'm always open to trades. That's where I pick up that unusual stuff because they got, hey, I got these shirts I don't want anymore. I can't wear them anymore. I got these guitar picks or these magazines I don't read anymore. So I pick up a lot of that stuff that way. And then as far as CDs and that, it's just going to record stores. I love going to used record stores.
Yeah.
I deal with some distributors like Matt at Boone's Overstock and, Bill at Rocks Productions. I deal with those guys; they're great guys. So I get some stuff from them, but that's more of the new stuff because they both put out their own on their own labels. So
Right.
I get newer stuff from those guys sometimes, but a lot of it is just hitting used record stores. Every time I go to any other city, the first place I go is a record store.
Yes.
All right, cool. So this next question I'm about to ask, you've already semi-answered it, but I do have a twist to it now. So we were talking about the small reviews that you have beside each product, and I know you were saying that you got some of those from various websites. People talking about them. Now, with that said, I know I was looking through the site and I'm like, okay, like almost every product, if not every product, is reviewed in some way. So, have you listened to at least the majority of the product that you sell?
I would have to say honestly, no.
Okay.
I don't know that would be possible. I've listened to a lot of it, especially the classic stuff, Tourniquet and Blood Good, and all, I know those things. A lot of the newer stuff, I pick it up because people are looking for it. But a lot of it I get sealed, and I've never,
Oh
got a
yeah,
copy
yeah.
I get a copy for myself sometimes, but a lot of times I don't even have a copy for myself. So no, there's a lot of stuff I have not heard, but I'm familiar with what the bands sound like. So I could engage in a conversation about them. But if it's recommending which is their best album or what's how's this album different, I am not up to speed on every single thing I've got.
Yeah, that
Just
makes
down
sense.
that list. I think there's thousands of them, and I have not heard everything. I've
Okay.
heard a good chunk of them, but not everything.
Gotcha.
All right. So who are a few of your favorite newer bands? I mean, newer, last 5 years or so, whatever.
I don't. As far as Christian bands go, I'm trying to think. Newer bands. I love. She comes from a band, but Lacey Sturm. I love Lacey Sturm. Her solo stuff. I saw her when she was in Flyleaf, and then I've seen a couple of her solo shows. So that's, I don't know if that's 5 years, but that's relatively recently. So I love her stuff. I I can't think of a lot just off the top of my head. I'm going blank, but yeah, I don't know. I can't. I'm drawing a blank on that one.
All right,
Okay, no
no
worries, no
worries.
words. It's all good.
Yeah,
Well, cool.
I think
Well,
it's the 5 year thing is throwing me because I'm trying to think who's been around 5 years or less.
oh yeah, I figured. Well,
Because
this is actually, huh?
no, I was gonna say I'm more. 90% of what I listen to is what people would call classic stuff.
Yeah,
80s, 90s stuff. So I am aware of newer stuff, but I don't know. And I'll probably as soon as we're done talking, I'll think of newer stuff that I've been listening to. But right now, I'm not.
we'll throw it in the notes. How about that? Throw it in the notes
Yes,
under the description
yes,
of the video.
yes.
This is his favorite new band. Okay, cool. This is actually kind of cool. It's a record for us. I think we're almost done with this interview. So we have one last question, and that is,
Okay.
how can we help you with your ministry? Like, how can we support you? What are the best ways to support you, both as Christian metal and just in, as the admins, and then also just in general?
Well, I think you're doing it. Jimmy has been awesome. I have
Mm,
even before this latest sponsorship when I've gotten more involved than I was before. Jimmy, I would know this for a fact. When he would buy something from me, he would put it on Facebook and he'd link to my website and he'd say, I just got this
amazing.
awesome stuff from Brent Miller. I would immediately get emails from people that I had never heard of that would go to my web page because of what Jimmy had linked.
That's
And
amazing.
this is going on for years.
I love it.
And I knew they were coming from him because I'd never heard of them. And the day after he links this, I've got 3 or 4 or 5 people emailing me, I want this, I want this. I thought, I know that's Jimmy doing that.
That's
So I
awesome, man.
appreciate that.
So
Yeah.
I
cool.
think I've thanked you for that, but I'll thank you again right now
Yeah,
because
no.
that's awesome.
Well, that's just the power of social media. You
Yeah.
True.
getting the most out of it. So I love to do that and support the places that I get it from. So
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. And I think you've done it with cassettes because you got some from me
yeah.
maybe a year ago. You put a picture of them. I sold so many cassettes that week. It's just like I
Oh,
knew
I
that came
didn't
from.
even
I
know
knew,
that. No, I get your year in 50% off. That's what I get
oh yeah,
for cassettes. Yeah.
yes, yeah. That's the stuff that hadn't sold for a while. So it's like, hey, I'm
Yes.
mark it down, clear it out.
That's
Mhm.
awesome,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely. I love it. Well,
Awesome. Well,
that's awesome. You rock,
we are
man.
wrapping up here. I appreciate your time. Everybody
Well,
check
thank you
out
guys.
Brent Miller's Rock Metal. I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah,
Brent's
it's Brent's
Christian
Christian Rock Metal.
rockmetal.com.
Brent's Christian Rock Metal.com.
Yeah, rockmetal.com.
ChristianRockMetal.com. You got it.
All right, yes, I
Well, we
will put a
appreciate
link in there. Y'all have a great day and
You
God
too.
appreciate
bless.
Good talking to you guys. Thank you.
All right, good talking to you. Take care, y'all.
See ya.